As we welcome you back, second half getting underway here at the FGCU Soccer Complex, as we have seen an incredible line of storms come through with gusty, heavy winds and some heavy rains, a lot of times blowing sideways. But play goes on in this ASUN quarterfinal matchup. The 3rd seed UNF, the 6th seed Stetson. Still scoreless.
And neither team got a chance to warm up before starting the second half. They stayed in the locker room longer than usual because of that brief delay we had and the really strong wind and rain we've had. So they didn't get a chance to get warmed up for this second half. And obviously now the weather is a factor in the play.
And it was such a brief delay. The teams were sent off the field for just a few minutes when things got to their worst, and then were brought back out, and play continues.
Yeah, this is part of the deal with Florida, Tom. You never know when the storms will roll in, and even though it was sunny when we started, it's very different now.
Yeah, very different. The temperature has dropped. The wind continues. It's this heavy squall. We're not sure what's behind it. We knew this was out there, and we knew it was headed this way. We had sort of conflicting reports as to how soon it would get here. Nonetheless, Stetson dominated the first half, but were unable to find the goal. And we'll see if they continue to press and move forward and play as aggressively as they did in that first 45 minutes.
And when one team has a lead in weather, the approach becomes pretty obvious for both sides. One team's trying to use the weather to advantage to protect that lead. The other team's trying to take advantage of the loose circumstances, as that one sails well high. The team that's trailing is trying to make, get it as crazy as it can be. But right now these teams are tied, and their seasons are on the line, and they're going to have to navigate this weather to play as tightly and effectively as they have all season.
Well, we'll see what kind of adjustments that UNF makes here in this second half to try to get more opportunities and some shots on goal. They had exactly 0 in the first 45 minutes. Excited to be with you, Tom James, alongside John Vitas, for this opening quarterfinal at the 2018 ASUN Men's Soccer Championship. And wild weather situation up here in the booth as well, as we're getting pelted with rain.
Looks like Lodovico got tripped there. Another yellow card. That one assessed to Stetson, and this is going to be one of the best chances of the day for North Florida. We talked about how effective they've been this season, how dangerous they can be off set pieces, and this one is in a spot where you can really do some damage.
So UNF with perhaps one of their best looks at this. They have not had many. It's Burgess curling one in and just wide.
That may have been a goal without the wind.
Yeah.
You could see the wind push it to the left of that corner.
Luna probably would not have had a chance to get that had that ball been just a little bit lower and on target there. Into that corner is where he was trying to bend it into.
Yeah, great job and good execution by Burgess. Just missed on the potential first goal of the day.
And you sense a little bit more aggressiveness out of this Osprey team. Send it back to Miko, who's so busy. Had his hands full in the first half, but didn't let one through, and that's the most important thing.
You should see a lot of aggressiveness, a lot of energy from both sides, because if you don't provide enough of it, you don't need any more because your season's over. So if there's ever a time to empty the tank, these next 40-plus minutes are the time.
Absolutely. This FGCU waits in the wings for the winner of this. That'll be Sunday afternoon, 1 o'clock Eastern time. We'll have it for you live here on ESPN+. While we have a moment, a tremendous hats off, kudos to our entire crew for holding it all together in this crazy weather situation that we've got in the truck. Jeff Mayer and his whole crew and all the folks up here at our broadcast position.
Not everybody is as fortunate as us to be covered right now.
It is true, and that one in the net for a goal. The Hatters have struck. It looked like Alex Cruz through the rain. We don't have monitors right now.
Well, boy, a breakdown on that UNF back line. You got to think that the footing there may have been a problem, and the ball got loose, and finally Stetson is cashed in.
They finally got one past D'Amico. He could only hold them off for so long. And the Hatters are on the board and lead it 1-0.
Well, as it feels like the floodgates have opened on the field, the floodgates have opened in the sky as well. Just as that goal was being scored, a torrential rain that these players are now trying to navigate through.
So it was Lewis Scattergood, number 15, that scored the goal for the Hatters. Scattergood, the 6'1" freshman forward, with the biggest goal of his young career as a Stetson Hatter. And you never know, John, with the conditions the way they are, that could be all the Hatters need.
It could be. It could also be the type of second half where we see a lot of goals because footing is going to be at a premium here. This is a terrific playing surface. The facilities team here at FGCU does a terrific job to get this field in tip-top shape, but it is taking a lot of water in a very short amount of time right now. You're going to start to see the footing of these players splash up water on every step they take, and there's no doubt that Stetson's going to play it slow, as you see right here, play possession, try and use the conditions to their advantage now that they have the lead. But there are opportunities for breakdowns in terms of possession and on the back line in these types of conditions. So it could be enough. We could see this get wild quick.
Well, as confident as Stetson was, now an extra skip in their step after finally getting one past D'Amico, getting on the board, and the way they have dominated this game, they are feeling very good about themselves right now. Incredible weather conditions here in Fort Myers. We can't stress it for you enough. If it's coming through on your screens the way that we're seeing it here in person, it is tremendous downpour, heavy winds.
And in the first, or here's a chance for UNF.
One put in and just goes wide.
Well, we talked about the first half wind going from left to right on your screen, but it's flipped around here. Now it's right to left as the thunderstorms have kind of reversed course here and gotten us when we got to halftime. So in both halves, UNF will have it at their back and Stetson will have it at their face, which is almost never how it goes in any sport. You can see the ball there just dying before it got to midfield.
And the Hatters, thanks to Lewis Scattergood's goal, the freshman stepping up and getting the 6th seeded Hatters, the last team to make the championship in the final week of the season. They got in, they snuck in, thanks to a win over this UNF team a couple of weeks ago. Such a tough season for the Hatters, but they seem to have something on this Ospreys team, despite the fact that UNF is the 3rd seed in this championship.
The UNF just might not like Fort Myers. They've been outscored 6-0 on this field this year. They lost 5-0 against FGCU.
Very up and down team as the UNF player goes down.
Bryson Smith drew one just outside the box, so the Ospreys are going to get a chance at an equalizer here.
And Bryson Smith, another one of those key freshmen in this game. Scattergood for Stetson scored the goal. Smith for UNF. Such a contributor. We'll see if the Ospreys can cash in now.
Again, this is a strength for UNF. They had a shot go just wide moments ago from a similar spot. This one's even tighter to the goal.
Interestingly enough, just as they prepare for this, the rain has mostly subsided and the wind has died down. And the shot against the wall. A second opportunity goes wide off the right foot of Burgess.
Well, because of how tight to the net that free kick was, UNF had 3 players flanking the ball for the potential rebound, and Colin Scott put a nice knuckling shot towards that far post and, again, just missed. So even though UNF has had fewer opportunities today, their opportunities have come a lot closer to going in.
Can UNF answer back?
Well, Smith tried to flick one through to a teammate. I think these might be the ideal conditions for more goals because the field is still so wet, but it's not currently raining, so the players can see each other better. They can maneuver better, but the footing is still poor as that one goes high.
It was O'Brien's opportunity, and of course, what is missing for the Hatters here in the second half is Erwin Colas, their top player, their star player. Young man who scored 7 goals this season. As we showed you in those halftime highlights, if you were with us there in the first half, Colas went down with an injury and was helped off the field. It was his right leg, perhaps his right ankle, but he was in a lot of pain, and it looked serious. So he has not come back into the game here for the second half, which is not a good sign for Colas or for the Hatters.
It's so tough to lose your best player no matter what game you're playing in, let alone a postseason game. But there's no time to hang your head if you're Stetson. You got to play on without your guy, and they scored without him just moments ago.
And a left-footed blast just goes wide.
Boy, Colin Scott took a rip on that one. Just missed to the left, but things are opening up right now for the Ospreys.
That was a laser. Couple of good looks for the Ospreys here in the second half. Some close calls that they had none of over the first 45 minutes.
We're seeing the makings of potential future goals here.
Well, it's interesting, at least to this point here in the second half, even though Stetson got the goal that they had been so looking for, it's really been UNF that has controlled possession over a greater number of minutes here in the second half so far than the Hatters have.
Yeah, I agree. I think that UNF right now may be almost freed up mentally by falling behind. It kind of loosens you up. You fall behind 1-0, lights a little fire under you. You know you cannot just kind of play equal with the other team. You have to score or your season's over, and they might be taking that to heart right now.
So Stetson will have an opportunity out of the corner. They had 3 corner kicks in the first half. This will be the first of the second half as we tick towards the 33-minute mark left in regulation.
Taking the corner for the Hatters, number 9, Gabrielle Denise.
So it'll be Denise from the corner with the left foot, the in-swinger. And he chooses just to chip it in. And the Hatters able to do nothing with that opportunity.
Oh, good job by the Stetson back line there to step in and stop the momentum as Smith's pass was deflected because they had numbers there on the counterattack.
Denise chips it ahead. D'Amico scoops it up. And the field a little slower with all the water that it has taken in over a pretty short period of time during that halftime.
Yeah, softer bounces. You have to make those adjustments if you're the players on both sides. But I don't think the weather's affected the mindset of these teams at all. These guys are very motivated right now. A lot more energy than we saw in the first half. I'm sure a lot more energy than you would see in a regular season game. So despite the conditions, this is going to be a very competitive final 30 minutes.
31 and change left to play. 1-0 in favor of Stetson, thanks to Lewis Scattergood's goal in the early stages of the second half. And as we talked about it, we had a minor and short weather delay during the halftime period. Play will continue as long as there's no lightning. And there is none. And here comes UNF. Chipped in. The Hatters defensively, they are there to stop the threat at least momentarily.
Well, there's an example of how the conditions can lead to more goals than usual. X-line completely slipped on the wet turf, and it was a breakaway for UNF, but the cross was played out of trouble eventually. But that was a good chance for the Ospreys. Bryson Smith got the cross off without anyone defending him because X-line was still trying to get up. And so we could see some breakdowns, not because of mental errors or bad passes, but because of the conditions on the field.
Burgess to throw it in. Gets it in, left footer! And the Ospreys are on the board. Colin Scott has tied it.
Well, there are the conditions playing a huge factor. Beautifully done by Burgess on the throw-in, skipping it across the wet turf like you would skip a rock across water, and it ended up right with the guy who he knew could cash in for North Florida, and that's Colin Scott.
Colin Scott, the sophomore midi.
We saw him come close just a few minutes ago on a very similar shot from a almost identical spot. And that time, he put one on frame and absolutely no chance for Stetson to stop it.
An absolute blast by Scott, the Houston transfer from Germantown, Tennessee originally. And how do you do? The Ospreys have come alive and have tied this game. And they have been a different team here throughout the first about 16 minutes of the second half. Despite giving up that goal, they've been more active and perhaps more now.
Boy, Lodovico just throwing headers to the ground. UNF has come out of the gates hot here in the second half. And Celis turns that one aside. I mean, you got to give Coach Marinatos and his staff so much credit. This team started 0-6.
Yeah.
They fell behind early in the second half. They could have hung their heads in the pouring rain and said, you know, we're going to finish 4-11. It's not our year. But they were able to turn their mindset around and play with all kinds of enthusiasm after falling behind. And right now, they are the team applying the pressure.
A young team. Remember, just 3 seniors on this Ospreys team, made up of So many freshmen, so many sophomores, few juniors. And the Hatters with a chance, but that blast way high that time.
Shot by number 15, Lewis Scattergood.
That was Scattergood trying to duplicate what he did earlier in the half, but not to be that time. 28 minutes to play in regulation. Scattergood got it started with the scoring for Stetson earlier in the second half. Gave the Hatters a 1-0 lead. But Colin Scott has now answered back for the Ospreys with a left-footed blast to tie the game at 1 apiece. And an entertaining ASUN quarterfinal matchup here in Fort Myers, Florida. How about Luna coming way out that time to chase that one away?
Yeah, that was dangerous. The back line for Stetson could not get that ball headed forward, and it was one-on-one Smith and Luna. And it looked like Smith may be the player to get there first, but Luna was able to get enough of his foot on the ball to knock it out of bounds.
Stetson substitution into the match for the Hatters.
Stewart comes in for the Hatters, number 18.
Stewart, he replaces number 16, Lewis Scattergood.
Yeah, Scattergood after the goal and that another attempt there a moment ago, heads to the bench. Under 27 minutes left to play. Who will it be to advance into Sunday's semifinals to take on second-seeded FGCU? Been at times a hard-hitting matchup between these two.
You're not kidding. I mean, we've seen arms getting tugged, all kinds of contact, and for the most part, the officials have let a lot of it go. We haven't seen as many traditional fouls, just your run-of-the-mill foul. We've seen so many cards already in this match, which is a good way to get guys to stop making hard, heavy contact. But a lot of little jabs here and there from both sides, and a lot of it's gone uncalled.
Kick coming for Stetson. Sent on, blocked off by the wall. Here's Monsanto, sends it ahead. And it'll belong to the Ospreys. So, John, with about 20 minutes under our belts here in the second half, what's really stood out to you about the way this second half has gone between these two?
Oh, it has to be the fight of the Ospreys. Again, what we said earlier, so much stacked against them this season, so young, and falling behind right away in this half. I mean, that's a big blow to come back from, and it's a team that's a little bit undermanned, and yet they've all collectively fought on and taking advantage of the conditions, and just everybody has played inspired soccer here in the second half, and I think that's got to be the biggest takeaway.
Well, they had already been outplayed in the first half and had been fortunate not to give up a goal. Second half gets underway, then they do give up a goal. Things go from bad to worse, and what do? They respond, this young team.
It's almost like both these teams are playing with house money because they had disappointing years. They both had losing records, yet they control their own destiny, and they're 3 wins away from an NCAA tournament berth. That's how you have to approach it.
Well, and clearly the top 2 seeds in this conference are the class of this league right now, with Lipscomb the top seed, FGCU the number 2 seed, and they are both hosting in their halves of the bracket, and they get the byes. I can tell you, FGCU very happy not to have had to play in the conditions that we're seeing here late this afternoon and into this evening.
You would hope that at 1 o'clock on a Sunday in early November, the weather is better than this for FGCU on Sunday.
And they'll play against a team, whoever it is, that's has a game under their belt a couple of days before, maybe a little more fatigued. The Eagles be fresh as that header goes over the crossbar.
That was Wicksted, the NC State transfer, former member of the ACC honor roll. But that was a good play right there by Stetson to get it into the mix in the box. That was a calculated play. We haven't seen a lot of those from them in this second half. Good job by X-line there of Stetson to intercept that pass. But again, physical play from UNF to force the ball into the Hatters' end.
The Ospreys, they feel like the fresher, more energized team, at least for the moment. And it has not been that way throughout.
And
it's funny what a goal will do for you, though.
Stetson's the experienced team here. I mean, they have to be the favorite, even though neither team's had a great year. But right now, UNF, like you said, looks like they have the edge.
Nice job defensively.
But we are seeing a little bit more now from Stetson. They had that ball played into the box for Wicksted and a closer attempt on the header, and now they have a corner coming. So no matter who has the momentum, it's about who is going to actually score. And right now, Stetson seems to be a little more organized.
As Northoff comes into the game for DeGance for Stetson. And they've got a corner kick opportunity, their 5th of this match. And here it comes. A chance. Great job defensively by the Ospreys. So it's been scattergood with the goal, another shot for Stetson here in the second half. But other than that, not much offensively for the Hatters. Kind of flipped the script a little bit since that Stetson goal, with UNF now more the aggressor.
And another aggressive play by Burgess on that one to come sliding over and send it out of trouble. And that's just all effort. That's just wanting to get to that ball, laying out and sacrificing your body to get a foot on it and knock it out of bounds. Here comes Estes. And these are the two right here that you would think have to step up for Stetson, Shalbad and O'Brien, who just had a couple touches each. And now it looks like we might get a corner.
Keep an eye out for O'Brien because he scored in the second half of the first meeting between these two a few weeks back. What was the second goal for Stetson that night?
He's one of those specially skilled players who can do a lot of things offensively and defensively, and he is one of the best players in this league. So number 7 is definitely someone to keep an eye on in green.
And yet another opportunity out of the corner for the Hatters. No elevation, though, on that attempt. Want to get that ball in the air, curl it in to the box, maybe go far post, and you really don't allow your teammates to do much with it.
Yeah, Shane Nicholson made the play on that one, and he didn't start the match, but he has played really well here in the second half for UNF.
Less than 18 and a half in regulation. Both goals in this game coming since halftime. For one of these teams, the season ends tonight.
And we don't know who it's going to be. It's going to come down to these next 18 minutes. And you can see the rain starting to pick up again.
Chance into the box, perhaps for Stetson. But great denial by the Ospreys.
There have not been many openings in that UNF box. Stetson is probed, but they haven't been able to prolong any chances long enough to convert. Stetson fans wanted a foul on Sellis there, but a good clean play on the ball. Just more aggression from that Ospreys back line.
At midfield. Denise works it ahead, but denied by UNF.
Burgess on that play. And we said right from the beginning tonight that the back line for UNF was likely going to determine this game because they haven't played up to potential all year, but over these last 20 to 40 minutes of play, boy, have they been good. And here is an opportunity for the Ospreys.
Up top.
And Torian Wentz just missing high.
Very close. What would have given the Ospreys their first lead.
But just solid passing all the way around for UNF. That was Kunjo Zabina, the sophomore from France, transfer from Indian Hills Community College, leading the charge. You saw him with the space on the near side of the field, was able to get himself towards the corner to give his teammates chances to flood the box, and he beat the defender one-on-one to get off a good cross, and they got a good shot on goal from Wentz. So not much more you can ask for right now if you're a UNF fan. It's going to be a very exciting final 15 minutes.
Here's Luna. "15 minutes left in regulation." Who is it going to be to step up, perhaps, with a great crossing effort? A tremendous shot on goal that will give one of these two teams the lead.
And these are the types of times and seasons where you sometimes see somebody off the radar step up and make a name for himself. It's not always the usual suspects at this point of the match, this point of the season, because you have certain players circled on the scouting report. A lot of times it's whoever you least expect that wins a game like this for your team.
Well, for Scattergood, the freshman for Stetson who scored the goal, it was his 4th goal of the season. He had 3 in the regular season.
So at this stage, anybody can beat you. This is the time of the game where you focus on what you do best. You focus on your strengths, and whenever the other team has any sort of an opening, you close it as quickly as you can.
The goal for the Ospreys scored by Colin Scott. One of the usual suspects. He's had a couple already this year. More rain as it continues to come down harder once again. We had a respite there briefly, and not so much anymore. The wind is not what it was.
As if we needed this to get any more interesting.
Oh, yeah. It's been something so far, that is for sure. And again, a big shout out to our entire production crew. Our producer, Jeff Mayer, and all of his staff in the truck, on the cameras, braving the conditions.
You saw Vela with that throw-in just surrounded by raindrops. So now even more opportunities for literal slip-ups and potential openings.
And a potential opportunity for the Hatters. Here's O'Brien. Just goes wide.
That was Zabina with closing speed from behind because O'Brien was one-on-one with a good angle against D'Amico. Here's another look at the replay. Boy, Zabina, now you can see they're going to get a corner kick because it was Zabina who kicked that one out of bounds.
From behind, that's right.
O'Brien was getting ready to tee it up, and he would have had a great chance to score there if he had gotten his foot to the ball first.
So terrific defensive play that could have potentially saved a goal and maybe even saved the season. So yet again, our count, I believe the 7th corner kick. And a shot just is deflected wide by just inches.
I think that was Scattergood again. He almost had his second, and somebody from UNF got some sort of their body on that ball to just barely push it wide of the post.
Watch Lewis Scattergood. And the defender.
Might have been Estes, number 8, but not sure. Here comes another corner.
Or perhaps Mayers. And out of the corner.
Stetson shot by number 9.
That's centered, and D'Amico corrals it.
Oh, that was a great play by Stetson, knowing how wet D'Amico's gloves must be to just kind of pop it up into the middle of that smaller box. And with 3 Hatters around, if D'Amico had not caught that cleanly, they would have been in a lot of trouble. Wow, what an outstanding defensive play there by Northoff. Get Stetson back in control.
As we tick under 11 minutes to play in this ASUN quarterfinal. Adverse conditions here in Fort Myers on a Friday night. Lewis Scattergood got the scoring started for the Hatters early in the second half. Made it 1-0. Colin Scott responded for the Ospreys several minutes later. And that's where we stand. At 1 apiece. A freshman and a sophomore. The 2 guys scoring those goals and trying to propel their teams, perhaps, to a berth in the semifinals.
Well, you get the feeling that whoever blinks first is going to come out on the short end tonight. It's going to be one slip up, one bad pass, one player reaching a little bit extra closer to the ball to try and get a clean shot off. It's going to be a game of inches from here on out, and every player on the pitch right now does not want to be the guy to give it up.
Set across. Here's O'Brien. Such a talented player. Oh, and D'Amico.
Well, a perfect ball from O'Brien, had all that English on it, bending towards D'Amico, who made the solid aggressive play there, because D'Amico hit number 17, Raphael Northoff, in stride, and the deflection found the keeper, D'Amico, who was positioned well.
O'Brien's so crafty and such a talented, skilled player. He's a real high soccer IQ, if you will. Great feel for the game. And of course, Stetson doing all of this here in the second half without their star player, Erwin Colas. A man who scored 7 goals on the season. Hurt late first half, right leg, perhaps an ankle, and we have not seen him since. As Luna takes care of it. Under 8 minutes to play in regulation.
There will be no ties tonight, Tom.
No.
It's the bracket stage of the year.
That's right. Somebody's moving on and somebody is going home. No matter how long it takes. A chance now for Stetson. And a shot and a goal. And the Hatters have taken the lead. Northoff makes it 2-1.
Oh, what a shot by Northoff. Not an easy angle at all, with a couple of Ospreys trailing behind him, able to beat the keeper D'Amico with his left foot. Here's another look at what could be the game winner to send Stetson into the semis. Great shot by Northoff, able to go over D'Amico with a very tight angle to work with. Brilliant shot by Northoff, and Stetson is 7 minutes away.
Second goal of the season for Raphael Northoff.
How much sweeter is it, too, to just slide across the wet turf after that?
You can say that again. The junior from Germany.
That's the same player who had the previous chance just moments before the goal on the cross from O'Brien. So he had a similar angle and a similar play approaching D'Amico. So that's a familiar position to be in for Northoff. On that occasion, he was dribbling the ball himself, but he was just at that same angle maybe 60 seconds prior. That may have helped him in that spot to read the tendency of what D'Amico would do in a situation like that with the defender beat. And here's Northoff again.
Shalbo sends it ahead. How about Northoff? Sometimes a defender, sometimes a midi. Versatile player out there, but only his second goal of the season. Pretty good time to do it.
Oh, no question about it. Again, somebody off the radar who we were not expecting to get this type of a goal of this significance. I think with Colas out, they moved Northoff from the back line forward, and boy, what a great coaching decision that was by Coach Nagu.
Northoff giving chase again this time as we're around the 6-minute mark.
Well, it's the end of the season, and nobody knows the personnel better than the head coach himself. He recruited these players. He knows them. He came in here with a fresh slate from UNC, and he knew that if there was somebody that could replace Colas in an attacking role, that Northoff was his guy, and he proved him to be correct.
Yeah, and he went to a junior. And, an upperclassman. Can the Hatters hang on now? And how about UNF? Certainly nervous time, but Stetson trying to put an end to this thing. It's 3-1. The Hatters have scored again. Lewis Scattergood, his second goal of the night.
Beautiful soccer from the Hatters. Everybody bit on that play to the far post because it was a little deja vu for UNF going towards that post, and everybody sold out for the shot, and instead it was the pass to Scattergood that got the third goal in for Stetson.
Lewis Scattergood, who had 3 goals the entire regular season, has put 2 in the back of the net tonight. The difference in this as he comes off the field, gotta be feeling heroic. A 3-1 lead for the underdog Hatters, the 6th seed in this championship, just sneaking into the event to begin with. Talk about perhaps making the most of your opportunity. And now, desperation time for UNF, and they need to be going the other direction.
Well, it feels like the floodgates have opened. It feels like the haymaker has been delivered. With 5 minutes to go, boy, Stetson stepping up here in the final 10 minutes. And Gabriel Denise gets the assist. What terrific tactical decision by him to play that ball back into the box when everybody was expecting him to take a shot from a pretty advantageous position, able to psych everybody out, the keeper and both defenders that were there.
And that shot goes high over the crossbar. Chalbeau wanted his chance to get on the board right there.
All right, everything's opened up for Stetson now. UNF, you can understand if they're a little disappointed by what's gone on here. But more breakdowns following the second and third goals.
Now they're playing for their lives now, and they may have, the Hatters may have all they need.
And you saw the ball slip right out of the Ospreys' hands there.
Great defensive efforts twice for UNF as we tick towards 4 minutes left in regulation. And just like that, we've gone from a 1-1 game to a 3-1. Hatters lead with a couple of back-to-back goals. Northoff gave Stetson the lead. Scattergood then answered with his second goal of the night to make it 3-1. And Hatter Nation has got to be feeling very good about themselves right now. And what is perhaps setting up to be a Stetson FGCU semifinal clash Sunday afternoon right here on this field. And we'll have it for you live on ESPN+.
The matchup between Stetson and FGCU was much more competitive than the matchup between North Florida. FGCU defeating the Ospreys 5-0. They scored 3 goals in the first 15 minutes. So if you want to pick a rematch, that would be the matchup you want. Stetson and the Eagles. Should be a good one on Sunday. But again, you got to give so much credit to this North Florida team. Started 0-6, finished the season 4-4, got themselves the 3 seed in this event. And despite such a tough start and such an inexperienced roster, the fight that they showed tonight after falling behind 1-0 in the pouring rain, just can't say enough about the effort for North Florida. Coach Marinatos has a long history of winning, and even though they haven't won the last couple of years, there clearly is still something going right in this UNF soccer program, because what we saw today in the second half is not indicative of a team who has given up on their season.
The Hatters have just made the plays here in the second half, as seen in this 3-1 game, and all 4 of these goals have come since halftime, and all 4 of them have come since the weather took a dive.
Yeah, I had a feeling that the rain and the wind was going to open things up, and the tough footing was going to give both attacking players on both sides more opportunities, and that did prove to be the case with 4 goals scored in the second half after we had nothing in the first 45.
There you go. Thank you. My tripod wasn't locked down.
But probably a good time to give a shout out to the UNF seniors for here in the final 90 seconds. Here's a run for the Hatters.
And another goal. And they are pouring it on as that one, though, gets waved off. Offsides is the call against Stetson.
O'Brien has an assist. He almost got himself a goal there. But everything all of a sudden just clicking for Stetson here in the final 10 minutes.
And you certainly got a feel for this UNF team and up and down season that it has been. Although they've got a chance at sails high. With about a minute left in regulation.
That was about it right there. That was their last chance to give themselves a real opportunity to maybe fight back as we tick down under a minute. But the seniors, Tawan Sellis, A.J. Williams, Shane Nicholson, and Ivan Castro for UNF, seeing their careers come to an end today. A lot of blood, sweat, and tears put forth, as they say, for this Ospreys program under Derek Marinatos, the 8th year head coach.
And a blast from way up top.
Well, plenty of accolades and scoring yet to be done by that man right there, number 15, Bryson Smith, who will be the leader of this Ospreys team moving forward. Again, only a few seniors departing the program, so it'll be Smith and this group next year to try and make some noise in the ASUN.
And the youth of UNF, well, they'll be back to play another day and another season. But it will not be Sunday. Stetson defeats UNF, and they advance to the ASUN semifinals. 3-1 is your final score. At 1 o'clock on Sunday, it'll be FGCU, the 2 seed, playing host to the number 6 seed, the Stetson Hatters, who win it 3-1. Terrific goals by Scattergood. He had 2 of them. Northoff with the other. And they broke a 1-1 tie here late in the second half. Pull ahead and put it away to win this thing. And John, final thoughts from you on a game that really saw most of the action in the second half.
Well, we saw a lot of spirit from both sides in the final 45 after an up and down first half for UNF. They put forth so much fight, but then in the end, those final 10 minutes is what I think everyone will remember. Just the way that Stetson was able to click and connect out of nowhere in those final 7-8 minutes when they cashed in on back-to-back goals just a minute or two apart. So I think Stetson was the more talented team, the team that was more prepared and experienced to move on tonight, and that is indicative in the score. But again, North Florida deserves a lot of credit for fighting through the second half of their schedule, getting those 4 wins, and giving Stetson a heck of a fight tonight. This was a memorable quarterfinal. The weather adds to it as well. Very well played by a couple of teams who did not give up after.